Dragon's Lair, the fantasy adventure where you become a valiant knight on a quest to rescue the fair princess from the clutches of an evil dragon.
Hi everyone.
Hello, Internet.
Welcome to Super Breakfast Friends Club, the show that you're listening to with your ear holes.
And maybe other parts, but we don't need to know about those.
Don't ask, don't tell. That's my philosophy.
Don't ask, don't smell.
I'm Mike.
And I am not.
And this is the theme song. Did you like it?
It's fine. I guess it's catchy. I like every time it played, I was like, oh, it's this song again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is like it's made up of jingles from the game, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
The game doesn't have a whole lot of music. It's pretty much just short jingles that play every time you get something right or wrong. Backed with the screams of Dirk the Daring. So, yeah, I guess we didn't actually say. We're talking about Dragon's Lair. I don't remember.
Everybody's favorite game and franchise.
I can't remember if the words Dragon's Lair were actually ever said in the opening.
No, I remember there was text, but last time I checked, that doesn't make a sound.
Okay. Dragon's Lair is an arcade game released in 1983, made by Advanced Microcomputer Systems, which is a very catchy studio name.
No comment. Oh, that's what we were waiting for.
Yeah.
Stop it.
That's what happened.
Not very professional of your sneezes.
It's fine, I cut it out.
Don't.
I cut out all my sneezes and I leave in yours.
You leave in all of the sounds that I make, so I'm just the horrible goblin that ruins production.
Yeah. Isn't that exactly what you want to be?
Well, I was kind of going for imp instead of goblin.
No, alright. Well, you didn't communicate that very well. You definitely came across as a goblin.
You edited me as a goblin.
You just look, I could have gone troll if I wanted.
I was serving pure imp, and you cut out all the best bits.
So I did some research on advanced microcomputer systems. And I found...
What'd you dig up?
They were founded in 1982. The only game they had made before this was called Zizix. I'm going to spell that out for you. It's ZZYXX.
That rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah, that's... You remember how Qbert was going to be called the, string of nonsense that he says, and then they changed it because nobody knew how to pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have that same foresight on this one. Anyway, they went on to make Space Ace, which is very much like Dragon's Lair, and also has a TV show.
It does?
Yep. And,
oh, no.
And they created the Halcyon, which I hadn't heard about. Have you ever heard of the Halcyon?
Mm-mm.
It was a Laserdisc home console, which cost $2,500.
That's like $10,000 in old-time money.
Yep. It was supposed to launch in 1985, but the company went bankrupt before release. And now there are fewer than a dozen units that are known to exist.
I bet those sell for mad money.
Oh yeah, for sure. The game was published by Cinematronics, who were known for Space Wars and Star Castle. I've never heard of either of those games, but they sure sound like games.
They sure do.
Cinematronics was founded in 1975 by Dennis Partey and Gary Garrison of the San Diego Chargers.
What?
Yeah, just a pair of football players, I guess, formed a video games company.
Good for them.
Like, even before it was cool to do that. 1975? There were like 5 video game companies back then.
It was like all Pong all the time.
Yeah. Cinematronics was acquired by Tradewest in 1987 and became the Leland Corporation, which is the most boring name I've ever heard for a video game company.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call it Leonard Inc.
This is my company, Larry.
I think probably the thing that's most well known about this game is that it was directed by Don Bluth, the ex-Disney animator.
I forgot that.
He had worked at Walt Disney Animation from Sleeping Beauty up until The Fox and the Hound. And then he left to go work with Steven Spielberg and make his own films, which is how we got American Tail, Land Before Time, All Dogs Go to Heaven, which was a failure at the box office but became a success on VHS. He was not involved in any of the sequels to any of those movies, apparently.
Oh.
Which makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it does, but...
Those movies got a lot of sequels. I mean, those are some of his...
The Land Before Time and its 84 sequels.
Yeah, American Tail got at least one.
It got 2.
Did
didn't
it? I don't know. I know about the Wild West one. Was there another one? Oh, they made a TV series.
Why?
I don't know. Some things don't need sequels, you know?
Yeah.
Some things cry out for a sequel. You know, sometimes you come away from a world and you think, man, there's so many more stories that you could tell in that world. Like, I think Zootopia kind of cries out for a sequel because we barely saw any of that world in that movie, and it was a good movie. American Tail did not cry out for a sequel.
No.
I felt like Land Before Time kind of, you know, we know what happens. We know what happens to the dinosaurs.
I mean, eventually, but think of all the adventures they can have in the meantime.
Do we need to see Littlefoot starving to death in the nuclear winter after the
I would
meteor
actually
strike?
prefer that to some of the sequels that they did serve.
I might too, actually. So everybody, when they think of Don Bluth, they think of those big successful movies, but they don't think of the string of failures he had afterwards. Like Rockadoodle and Thumbelina. And
This is not a show about Don Bluth's failures.
And the Pebble and the Penguin. I'm just, you know, setting up. The guy's had some money troubles.
Okay.
He went on, eventually he left his own company and he went to Fox Animation and he made Anastasia, which apparently was his most successful film ever.
I believe it.
I didn't. That was wild to me.
I feel like it came at a time where animated movies were really popular.
Yeah. I mean, I remember it being really successful when it came out, but you barely hear about Anastasia these days.
Yeah, true.
But people still talk about American Tail and Land Before Time.
That's because Land Before Time is still going.
Well, okay. That's true. You got me there.
See, I would have thought that the thing people remembered about Dragon's Tail is how ridiculously difficult it is.
Oh yeah, that too. I mean, and that's the thing, like, so the game uses a laser disc. There's a laser disc inside the arcade cabinet playing the animated footage at you. And the game plays basically a series of QuickTime events. It throws up scenes from the disc at you in a mostly random order, I think. And sometimes the scenes are mirrored. So, like, you'll come at them once and everything's on the right, but you'll come at them another time and it's on the left. Which was a way to make it harder for people to just memorize what to do.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it worked.
It's procedurally generated before that was big.
Yeah. It was the first Laserdisc game that got released in the US, which is why it was such a big success. But it was not the first Laserdisc game to be made. Apparently, that was Sega's Astron Belt, which Dragon's Lair was inspired by.
What the heck is Astron Belt?
It was some kind of space game that used live-action footage, but I've never really heard of it.
Mm-mm.
I don't think it's been re-released on anything. Because the thing is, Astron Belt, because Dragon's Lair beat Astron Belt to US arcades, Astron Belt wasn't very well received. Compared to Dragon's Lair, it kind of looked dated and, not great.
Gotcha. Speaking of Dragon's Lair, what anniversary is this?
Oh, that's right. So it's the 40th anniversary this year. It was actually the 40th anniversary back in June, but that's when I was on holiday, so we didn't do it. But we're doing it now.
Yeah, so shut up about it.
Yeah, leave us alone, Internet.
All you Dragon's Lair fans beating down our doors.
Sending emails to the wrong address, I assume, since we haven't received any of them. Yeah, Dragon's Lair was the first arcade game to cost 50 cents. It was all quarters before that.
Oh, and this one's 2 quarters.
Yeah.
2 quarters to die pathetically.
But even with that big jump in price, it was still one of the most popular games of 1983.
Wow.
It's actually credited with turning around a financial slump that arcades were having at the time.
Good for arcades.
Unfortunately, the popularity of Dragon's Lair did not last.
What?
Apparently, by 1984, arcade owners had come to see it as kind of a failure because it cost a lot and the hardware was not the most reliable.
Oh.
The Laserdisc drive would break down quite easily.
Yeah.
And also, I think players just, once they kind of got the gimmick of it, they stopped coming back to it as much. Probably partly because it was twice as expensive as everything else.
Yeah.
But hey, it looked incredible.
It had a time and place in history that was not insignificant.
Yeah, exactly. 1 year after the game came out, this show existed.
Really?
Yeah,
that quick?
That quick. That's how it goes, right? You want to strike while the iron is hot.
I guess, but
before the kids move on to the new fad.
We just got a Shenmue cartoon.
I know, that's true. More than a decade after, almost 2 decades. Or maybe it was 2 decades after the... No, I think it was more than 2 decades after the game.
It's one or the other. It's either right when the game comes out, or you gotta wait 50 years.
Yeah, you gotta wait until it's a cult classic.
Right.
With a reboot coming out that they want to capitalize on. So this show was produced by Ruby Spears, who we've talked about before, on 2 separate occasions.
Uh-oh.
They were responsible for Saturday Supercade.
I knew it.
The show that contained the Q*bert show, the Frogger show, and various others. And they also made that Mega Man cartoon that we looked at.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
We should go back to him soon.
We should. I was thinking about him while doing the research for this. Dragon's Lair got 1 season, which was 13 episodes, and it first aired on September 8th, 1984 on ABC, replacing the second half of the Pac-Man/Rubik the Amazing Cube hour.
I forgot about Rubik.
The Amazing Cube?
Uh-huh.
It was so good.
I never watched it. I only recently found out it existed, and it boggled my mind.
Because I showed you the opening.
Yeah.
We have your reaction to that on the show.
Good.
I've been wondering if we can stretch the remit of this show so that we can watch Rubik the Amazing Cube.
Like, subscribe, and comment if you want to see us cover Rubik the Amazing Cube.
Yeah, what do you think, people listening? Does a Rubik's Cube count as a game?
I guess it counts as a game, but does it count as a video game?
That's what I'm saying. Do we stretch it to include games that aren't video games? maybe when we've run out of content.
And then we turn into a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast.
Oh god, yeah, that would mean no, because Yu-Gi-Oh was a manga first, so that wouldn't mean we cover Yu-Gi-Oh.
Fine.
But it would mean we cover Beyblade.
Yeah.
So I went and I actually found the TV schedules that included this show, so that I could see what else was airing around it.
Wow.
This episode followed an episode of Turbo Teen.
The kid that turns into a car?
The kid that turns into a car.
Yes.
Immediately followed by Dragon's Lair. And then after Dragon's Lair was an episode of Wolf Rock TV.
What in the world?
Wolf Rock TV was a show where an animated version of Wolfman Jack, the radio DJ, presents music videos. It was cancelled after 7 episodes and replaced with Scooby-Doo reruns.
Of course.
Yeah, it did not do very well. I couldn't find any footage of it, but I'm sure it's out there.
He's not even a wolf. It's just a dude.
Yeah, of course. It's Wolfman Jack. He was a real
know who
person.
That is.
He's a real person. I mean, he's dead now.
I don't know who that is. I'm not that old.
No, me neither. I learned about him for this. I didn't write much of it down because it wasn't that interesting or relevant. Anyway, this show was created because Don Bluth needed money.
Okay.
But he didn't have much respect for TV animation as a medium. He thought it was too limited. So he was very disinterested in the production of the show and really wasn't involved much.
That's a negative Nelly attitude.
It is. Yeah, I mean, if it was me, even if it was a medium that I didn't respect very much, which I can't imagine what that medium would be.
Right.
I would still want to be, like, heavily involved in it.
Yeah.
Make sure it matches up with my vision.
I mean, sometimes you need to put restraints on yourself, and that's where you can flourish.
Exactly.
Instead of just begrudgingly filling half an hour, being like, oh, I wish this was an hour and a half.
I think it was more about, like, the animation budget.
Oh, that's true.
I think that was his problem. Because, like, you look at the animation in Dragon's Lair and it's freaking gorgeous. The game, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole show, like, I have to say, the opening sequence is recreations of a bunch of scenes from the game. Mm-hmm. And they are so ugly in comparison to the game versions.
In comparison, yeah. It's not the worst animation we've looked at on this show, though.
No, it's not particularly bad animation, but when you compare it to the animation in the game, which is like theatrical quality, it's like, okay.
I guess I can meet him on that point.
Yeah. This episode is called Tale of the Enchanted Gift, written by Rick Merwin, who is mostly known for his work on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, from what I could tell.
Cool.
He also wrote for DuckTales sometimes, and he also wrote for a few shows that we've covered, but not any episodes that we've looked at.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote for Saturday Supercade, he wrote for Mega Man, he wrote for Sonic Underground.
Oh no.
And he wrote for Captain N as well.
Oh no.
Maybe sometime we'll come back and we'll look at the ones that he wrote.
Interesting how many video game cartoons he was involved in.
Oh yeah, a ton of other things as well. He had like most cartoon writers of this period wrote for like almost every cartoon that was on. Let's start talking about the show, shall we?
Let's turn on the television.
So we open up with a narrator reading to us from a book, which is a very common Disney storytelling trope.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, in the lovely kingdom ruled by the good King Ethelred, nobles came from far and wide for a great celebration at the king's castle.
I've never been a fan of it.
No, it feels a little bit too baby fantasy.
Yeah, I've never liked that very much. I think the only time you know what? I was going to say the only time I like it is Sleeping Beauty because the illustrations in the book are nice. But then I remembered that when I was a kid, I would always fast forward through the storybook opening because it was so boring.
Just put us in the world. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we don't need it narrated to us. It's not that complicated.
Because it doesn't even tell us that much. Like, it tells us we're in, like, the kingdom of Ethelred, and that's about it.
Yeah, it tells us there's an event, but it doesn't even tell us what the event is.
Right, we have to go in-world to figure that out.
The storyteller is played by Clive Riville, who was in an absolute ton of movies in the 60s and 70s, live-action movies. Apparently, he was the original voice of Emperor Palpatine before he got George Lucas out of history.
Oh.
Because you know how George Lucas likes to go back and replace things in his old movies.
Yeah.
So you cannot watch the Clive Reville version of Emperor Palpatine anymore. You would have to find that on a bootleg or something.
I bet my dad has a copy.
Maybe. It wasn't replaced until the special edition DVDs, I think, so...
I'm sure we have a VHS lying around.
Yeah, if there's a VHS copy of Star Wars, it's probably still his version. He also played Kickback in the 80s Transformers stuff. And he played Dr. Gallio in the Snorks.
The Snorks?
Yeah, you remember the Snorks?
Of course I remember the Snorks. What was their deal?
They were Smurfs up but underwater.
That's all it was.
If you could breathe underwater, where would you go? If you had friends underwater, who would you know? Come on, sing along, swim along too. Yeah!
I liked them more than Smurfs. I liked the designs of the Snorks.
I didn't really care for either.
The Snorks had like huge conjoined eyes, and I like that look.
That was before my time.
What, Snorks?
Snorks and Smurfs. Like, I would see reruns of them, but I would be like, what is this garbage? Put
Oh
on
yeah,
the
same.
SpongeBob.
I think the Snorks are from like the 60s.
Probably.
I don't know. I know the Smurfs are. So all the knights in the kingdom are gathered for an event, which is Princess Daphne's birthday. And we have Sir Hubert Blunt here, bragging about how he has the best birthday gift for the princess.
I have the greatest gift of all for Princess Daphne.
He gives real Gaston vibes.
Yeah, he kind of does, huh? But not as brave as Gaston.
No, a big wiener.
And he's not as, like, built and muscular. He's kind of a tubby knight.
Tubby Knight, did they include that in the Shovel Knight DLC?
They should have. Yacht Club Games, hit us up. I nearly said nuke us. That's not what I meant.
No, don't do that.
Put Shovel Knight in our podcast.
Put Shovel Knight in our breakfast cereals.
He can get... Oh, a Shovel Knight breakfast?
Yeah.
With little, like, marshmallow gems.
Yes.
And the cereal part is, like, dirt.
It's just actual dirt.
Yeah, it's just... The cereal can just be called, like, dirt. And every box comes with a little, like, shovel spoon.
That would be incredible, but you know that they don't give prizes in cereal anymore.
Well, this would be a special cereal that you have to mail order from Yacht Club Games, so they'd be allowed to do it. Yacht Club, you can have that one for free if you send us a free box each.
Yeah, just give us the cereal. I want that shovel spoon.
Give it.
Just don't do like those Funko Pop cereals that were so heavily dyed they turn your poop turquoise for a week.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah. I thought I told you about that at the time.
That happened to me once. But it was because I had a bright blue drink from just a like van. Just a food truck in Malta. And I got it because it was such a bright blue, and you know how I'm drawn to that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had green poop for a couple days.
Yep. We had tried the Elvira Funko Pop cereal, so they were like black. And boy, did that do interesting things
Oh, yeah.
to our bowels.
I think I heard the same thing about that Darth Vader Burger King burger.
Oh yeah.
Or I guess it was just a Halloween Burger King burger for us. In Japan, it's the Darth Vader burger.
Maybe we should stop talking about poop.
So Sir Hubert Blunt is played by Peter Cullen, who we've talked about before.
What did he do?
He's Sourpuss.
Oh no! Why did he choose to quack? Oh,
no.
What's the dog's name?
What is the dog's name? Chomp Chomp.
Chomp Chomp.
Yeah, Chomp Chomp was the quacking dog. That was Frank
That's
Welker,
right.
I think.
That's right. Okay, no, Sourpuss was good. Okay, I remember.
Yeah. Sourpuss is also the voice of Optimus Prime, which is probably what he's best known for.
Nobody's ever heard of Optimus Prime.
He's been Optimus Prime since the 80s and in everything, as far as I can tell. Like, even the Michael Bay movies, he's Optimus Prime.
Good for him.
Yeah. Daphne shows up as Sir Hubert leaves. I feel like he had so many different names. Like, some characters call him Sir Blunt, some characters call him Sir Hubert. I think Daphne just calls him Sir Bert at one point.
I thought his name was like Sir Hubert Blunt.
Yeah, it is.
Well, then yeah, that's not different names. That's just using different parts of his name.
Yeah, but they won't pick one, and it's confusing. Anyway.
It is a little confusing.
Princess Daphne is played by Ellen Gerstel, known for playing Mihoshi in Tenchi Muyo. She was multiple voices in the 80s My Little Pony stuff, including Magic Star, Scoops, Lofty, and Mimic. She played Rapture and Phoebe in Gem, and she played a bunch of minor characters in Tailspin and Darkwing Duck. And, things like that.
Very dated cartoons.
Yeah. Daphne looks absolutely nothing like she does in the game.
Oh.
Yeah, have you looked up her outfit in the game?
Let's see. Dragons, Lair, Daphne. Oh!
You can see why they changed it.
I can see why. It's a shame.
It is a shame.
The 80s needed a strong sex symbol.
She sounds completely different than she did in the game as well. In the game, she's the only character who has full spoken lines.
Mm-hmm.
She was played by one of the animators, I think, and it's basically a Marilyn Monroe impression. She doesn't sound anything like that here.
Yeah, they definitely went for a strong, independent woman princess as opposed to just a sex pot.
Yeah, she's basically the same character here as Zelda was in the Zelda cartoon. Yeah. Basically identical. Though this was a few years before the Zelda cartoon. And we have Dirk the Daring, played by Bob Sarlat. We've talked about him before as well.
What has he done?
He was the voice of Frogger.
Yes.
And we have Timothy, Dirk's squire.
Oh, I hate Timothy.
He is played by Michael Mish, who was the voice of Brett Matthews, also known as Turbo Teen. So Turbo Teen ended, and then Michael Mish had to run across the street to the Dragon's Lair office before the commercial break ended to do his...
to live voice Squire Timothy.
Apparently he was also the voice of Ego in Seventh Guest.
Ooh.
So that's interesting. Yeah, Timothy sucks. Timothy isn't in the game.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, so far, of the characters we've seen, only Dirk and Daphne are in the game.
I guess it doesn't really make for an interesting cartoon if those are your only two characters.
You do need more, than what the game gives you. You couldn't do like a full series of stories with just Dirk and Daphne as the only non-hostile characters. Because there are a bunch of other characters from the show in here, but they're all hostile.
Oh.
From the game, I mean.
Oh, like the Giddy Goons?
Yeah. So yeah, Sir Blunt and Timothy are both show creations. Dirk doesn't have a birthday gift for Daphne, It says he's going to go on a quest to get one, which is a silly promise to make.
It is, but I like that she would have accepted the quest as a birthday present.
A quest! That's a wonderful birthday present! When do we start?
Yeah, they should have just taken her.
Yeah.
That's all she wanted.
And then the gift is the friends you made along the way.
Yeah, exactly. Or sometimes the people you killed.
Yeah, well, you gotta do what you gotta do.
It seems like Timothy is the brains of the operation here, but that's not saying much.
It doesn't, because she comes down asking if they're talking about her birthday present. And Dirk is stuttering because they are, and he doesn't want to tell her that. And Timothy takes a full moment to be like, no, we weren't talking about your birthday present. Sir Hubert was just talking about your birthday present.
Dirk, were you and Sir Hubert talking about birthday presents by any chance?
No, Your Highness. It was just Sir Hubert Blunt boasting what a great gift he got you.
Yeah, he sucks. But he does seem to be very slightly smarter than Dirk is.
Very slightly.
We don't get too much of an idea of who Dirk is in the game, except that he scares easy. He spends a lot of the game shrieking. His screams are really funny.
Like Francis.
Well, he screams like Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
And then we see Singe, who's watching all of this happen through a diamond.
With a sword in it.
Oh, it's the magic crystal, isn't it? That's right. That's actually a thing from the game.
How did you feel about Singe's voice acting?
It's all over the place.
It sure is.
So Singe will talk. He should have just stuck to the deep voice, in my opinion. But he has this quirk where he will occasionally just go to a really high-pitched voice for one word, and then return to the deep voice. And it's quite grating.
Good. Take the golden falcon and make sure Dirk finds it.
Like, if it was once or twice, it would be like a funny little flourish. But as the show goes on, so does that.
Yeah. Singe is played by Arthur Burghardt, who is known for playing Devastator in Transformers, Destro and Iceberg in G.I. Joe. He played Pete in The Prince and the Pauper, the Mickey Mouse short, and he also in a few 2000s Disney games, which I thought was weird, because by the 2000s, Jim Cummings was pretty firmly established as the voice of Pete.
Yeah, maybe he was on holiday.
Maybe. He also apparently played Manaroth in World of Warcraft.
Okay.
And he played Venom in the Ultimate Spider-Man game. By
Ooh.
which I don't mean it was the Ultimate game, I mean it's literally called Ultimate Spider-Man. In the game, Singe is just a dragon.
He's not this talking mastermind.
No, he can't talk. The first game actually says that the castle belongs to a dark wizard who filled it with monsters to protect the princess that he'd kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
The second game reveals that dark wizard to be Mordroc, who becomes the main antagonist of the series going ahead. And Singe is basically his pet dragon.
Oh.
So all the games where the two of them appear together, Singe is just his pet dragon, and Mordroc is the main villain. But the second game didn't come out until 6 years after this show did.
Oh.
So they're working with what they had at the time.
Yeah.
They could have made up a dark wizard. I mean, like, it was known that the castle belonged to a dark wizard, so they could have made one up, but...
Yeah, they had the shady patrons in the bar, but they couldn't make up a shady patron in the castle.
Alright, we'll get to the shady patrons. But for now, let's talk about the Giddy Goons.
Let's do it.
The Giddy Goons are from the game. And yes, they're really called the Giddy Goons in the game.
I believe it.
The opening to the game, like when it's telling you about... Because the opening is just a narrator. It's like the attract mode. It's a narrator kind of describing what the game is. to try and entice you to put 50 cents in. As he's talking through the threats that you'll come across, he's just like, the Giddy Goons! And I'm just like, that's not threatening, though. So
They aren't. They're the least threatening thing.
They do look a little bit different in the show than they did in the game. In the game, they have huge red lips.
Ew.
Yeah, it looks like they have lipstick on. If you
That sounds even less.
Google Giddy Goons,
Oh, I am. You better believe I am.
get yourself a picture.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they don't look quite as oafish. They look a bit more bat-like.
Yeah, they look a little bit more threatening in the game.
Yeah.
A little bit.
It's really not saying much,
But
but
they're still called the Giddy Goons.
Mm.
So Singe tells the Giddy Goons to go find a place to put the Golden Falcon where Dirk will find it. And we're not told why. We're not told much of anything for a long time.
but we know it's a sinister plot.
Yeah, and I guess that's all we need to know. So the goons leave a note for Timothy to find. They slide it under the door while he's sleeping, and it wakes him up, and he rushes to tell Dirk, rushes to give Dirk this note.
I love that Timothy was sound asleep, and in the meantime, Dirk is just like furiously polishing his sword.
And that's not a euphemism.
Or is it?
I don't know. Maybe that's what the writers were going for.
What am I going to get the princess? Just polishing.
So the note says, I wrote this down. A brave knight will find a royal gift of flight at Limestone Cavern. That's it.
Yeah. It takes them a while. It takes Timothy a while to actually question this event.
Yeah, it's once they're on the way, right? Timothy realizes that Limestone Cavern is in Singe's domain.
No, it's like once they're coming back, basically.
Are you sure?
No.
I'm sure I remember him being like, Limestone Cavern, that's in the dragons area.
And then being like, gee, I wonder who slipped this oddly specific note under my door in the middle of the night.
He does wonder about that eventually, yeah.
Yeah, eventually, but it takes so long.
At the cavern, Dirk finds a suspicious door. Oh, and this is where we're introduced to Bertram, Dirk's horse.
I like Bertram.
Bertram is also played by Peter Cullen, the voice of Sourpuss.
Okay.
And yeah, I like Bertram okay.
He's my favorite character.
There was no horse in the game, in the first game at least, so Bertram here is created for the show. Dirk lures the Giddy Goons to the door and then slams it on them, which knocks them all out. So they're not very threatening.
Yeah.
Or I guess Bertram's the one who slams it, huh?
He tries to close it, and it's too difficult, so he asks for help, and then Bertram kicks it while Timothy stands to the side like an idiot.
Yeah, Timothy doesn't really add much.
I don't know why he comes. He doesn't do anything.
He's here for Dirk to have someone to talk to that isn't a horse.
I don't understand why he can't just talk to the horse.
I know. That's what I do.
Bertram seems smarter than Timothy.
Even if I was in that situation, I'd talk more to the horse than I was to Timothy.
Me too.
So once he gets into the cavern, he steps onto the wooden circle elevator thing, which is a thing from the game.
I do believe I've seen that before.
Yeah, this is basically recreating a scene from the game here where the elevator drops down. It's just a wooden circle that floats, and it drops down several floors, and in the game you have to jump off at the right time to get safely onto a floor. Doesn't look as cool here as it does in the game, but that's fine.
No, you can kind of see the flaw in the design.
Yeah. Anyway, he finds the treasure and he takes it.
What I don't get is that he's inside of a treasure room. It's full of treasure, but he still goes for the big giant eagle. Like, why not take anything else?
I know. What are the odds that he picked that as well?
Why would you take the thing that the mysterious note told you to take?
Yeah. Not even look around for anything else. And Singe tells us that tomorrow his plan will take effect. We still don't know what that plan is.
No, but I love this part because he's narrating to himself and he's like,
My plan will take effect tomorrow. Tomorrow.
He repeats himself.
He's trying to drill it into his mind so he doesn't forget.
I guess so.
So we see the huge queue of people giving Daphne gifts. She's just sitting in a chair, waiting for each person to bring her a gift. Do you think they're legally required to bring her a gift?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so
Or
too.
at least it's definitely beneficial to bring them a gift.
Yeah.
Like, even if you don't want to get your boss a gift, you do it because it looks good.
I think they probably get a tax break at least. Or a pardon from beheading at worst.
Right. All right, we won't set fire to your thatched roof cottage.
Yeah. Sir Hubert is giving Daphne a painting of himself. That's the gift that he was bragging about.
It's the best gift in the world.
Everyone's kind of laughing at him for it, especially Dirk. And then we get this really pointless section where Hubert's mad at Dirk for laughing at his gift, so he trips him.
Oh yeah, this was just wasting time.
Yeah, and so Dirk drops the falcon and the king catches it, and Daphne thinks it's a gift from the king. So and I thought the king was going to take credit for it, but he doesn't.
Right.
And him not taking credit for it makes this whole thing pointless.
Dirk just comes up and he's like, "No, that was me."
Yeah, and then that's accepted and it's fine.
Yeah, but also, like, right after that, the king says something about how he almost ruined the whole event because of that.
Yeah, almost ruined the celebration. He's mad about it, but nothing happened.
No, he tripped and the king caught the gift and nothing happened.
Just this king turns on a dime. You don't want to live in this kingdom.
No.
1 minute he's laughing because he was when he caught the falcon, he was like laughing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he seemed to be in good spirits. And then all of a sudden, when Dirk takes credit for being the one who got it, he just flips like that. It's scary.
Daddy, it's magnificent.
Oh, oh, yes. Well, it's nothing, Daphne. I just don't know who this is from.
It's from me.
You almost ruined my celebration with that thing, Sir Dirk.
Well, I wasn't gonna take credit, but now I don't even have the opportunity.
Anyway, King Ethelred is played by Fred Travellina, whose longest held role seems to be William Dalton in Lucky Luke. Have you ever heard of Lucky Luke?
No.
Lucky Luke is a Belgian comic that was originally printed in Spiro, which is the magazine that Smurfs originates from. He seems to have a lot of roles playing historical figures in different things. He's played Gerald Ford, Julius Caesar, and Mark Antony in Hysteria. He played Jimmy Carter in Big Fat Important Movie. But of all the roles of his that I looked at, my absolute favorites were Charlie Chortle in Black Scorpion.
Okay.
And Super Vet in Animal Wow. Dogs. Wow. Dogs. That is the name of it.
The name of the show is better than anything they could have given us.
Apparently it was I guess, educational video. I managed to find part of it on the internet, but it wasn't really worth watching. But it has a great title.
Sure does.
So Singe starts chanting a spell to make the bird come to life, and now we finally understand what he's been up to this whole time.
So Daphne starts looking at the bird before anything happens, and I was starting to think that she could hear Singe's spell, because at one point it's obvious that Singe is speaking through the eagle.
Yeah.
So is there just a big talking golden eagle in the middle of the room for a while?
I don't know. I definitely thought that everybody was hearing the spell for a second, but it just kind of happens.
Because she reacted before anything happened.
Yeah. So the bird snatches the princess and flies away, and Singe gives the king 1 day to surrender the kingdom. And all of the knights immediately offer to go save her, except for Blunt, who kind of backs away out of frame while it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But then when Dirk says he'll go alone, all of the other knights are like, okay, that's fine. Yep. I
Right.
thought that
We're
was
like-
really, that was actually pretty funny.
Dirk says that it would be better if just one night went, and all the other nights are like, yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm like, why does that make sense to go fight a dragon?
Because they don't want to go.
I guess, but even the king is like, yes, that does sound like sense.
I think the king's just an idiot. I took it as comedy. Maybe I was being generous, but I took it as like they all offered to go because they're knights and they're supposed to, but then as soon as there was an out, they were like, yeah, all right, no, that's fine. Yeah, you can go.
We'll go! We'll rescue the princess! Singe can't do that to us! No, Your Majesty. I'm responsible for this. I'll go alone. Besides, it'll be safer for just one night to brave the dragon's lair.
That would make sense. That's the format of a joke.
Yeah. I thought it was funny. If that was the intended joke. It wasn't super clear, but I think that was the intended joke. Dirk rides out with Timothy, so he's not going alone at all.
No, but he kind of is, because Timothy is useless and doesn't help him in any way.
I'll go as the only armed person.
I'll go as the only person that actually does anything to save the princess.
It's like a squire wouldn't usually ride out with the knight, I don't think. They would like help the knight get ready and get suited up and like everything, but I don't think they would literally be on the horse with him normally.
No?
So, now we're presented with a dilemma that's apparently for us to solve.
On one end, the Giddy Goons. On the other, Mudmen.
Yes. Mudmen are from the game as well. They're actually, I think the Mudmen are one of the creepiest enemies.
I don't know that they're creepy.
They're
They
not
just
so
kinda
creepy
look
here, but
like apes.
no, I mean if you look them up in the game, I think they're really creepy in the game because they
Oh,
all
I'm looking
move.
them up.
They all move in unison towards you with this kind of like swinging gait.
Well, did you choose correctly?
I didn't choose, did you?
I chose.
Did
I
you?
was like, go kill those stupid Giddy Goons. They aren't even threatening.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would have chosen the Giddy Goons if my wits had been about me, but I was just really... I wasn't prepared for the show to ask something of me.
Wasn't prepared to engage in my media.
Yeah, this isn't Carmen Sandiego. So yeah, this is the ad break, basically. Before the ad break, we're asked to choose whether Dirk should fight the Mudmen or the Giddy Goons. And when we come back from the ad break, we see the outcome of each choice.
I loved that. If you choose the Mudman, he dies.
Yes.
But as he's getting vored by the Mudmen, you can see his hand come up out of the mud and it's not attached to anything.
Yeah. So if he goes for the Mudmen, he's dead. If he goes for the Giddy Goons, it's fine. So all those children who chose to fight the Mudmen are idiots.
And they're also dead now.
But, like, that's pure luck to get that right.
I disagree.
You
Look
think?
at the Giddy Goons. They're useless.
All right. Okay.
They have never once posed a threat in this show.
No, that's true. In the game, you actually see them get, like, sliced in half.
Cool.
Yeah, you see their guts and everything. It's weird. Only for a second, though, because then they just blink out of existence.
Right.
So they're caught in a rainstorm, at which point they realize that Dirk does not know the way to Singe's castle.
You know, the big spooky dragon castle that everybody knows the territory of?
Yeah, they've just been riding out in a direction, I guess. So they stop at a tavern to ask for directions. And yeah, this is where those hooded weirdos are.
Alright, you had something to say about these hoodlums.
I do have something to say about these. I thought it was pretty clear that they were Giddy Goons, but then there was no reveal.
I thought so too.
There was no reveal.
I thought it was Giddy Goons that were going to intentionally mislead him, but there was no reveal and he winds up at the castle anyway.
Yeah, and then there's just no explanation of who these weirdos were.
No.
They sounded
just
like
local
Giddy Goons.
tavern weirdos.
Yeah. Wearing cultish robes for some reason.
Probably because they're in a cult.
You look up at the sign and you see that the tavern is called the Giddy Goon.
Oh, I wish.
So they enter the castle with no major resistance in the beginning.
No, but off to the side, you can see Giddy Goons and Mudmen. They're just not attacking in any meaningful way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, in the game you have a struggle even to get into the castle, but Dirk just kind of strolls in here. Meanwhile, in the treasure room, Daphne is threatening Singe. She tries to pull the magic sword from the magic crystal, but she can't. And then Singe puts her into the weird orb prison cage thing that she was trapped in the game.
I'm very confused about the span of time that this is taking place over, because she's just been loose running around the treasure room until this moment.
Yeah. It's like she came willingly.
Yeah. And it's like he was going to let her stay free until she tried to kill him.
Do you think she was just like threatening him and shit talking him the whole time and he finally had enough at that moment?
Maybe. Like once she went for an actual weapon, he's like, all right, you're going into the snow globe.
Yeah. She's been running free because she wasn't making any attempt to escape because she just really wanted to fight the dragon.
She's just talking smack, and he can live with that. He's been in an Xbox lobby.
This snow globe is what she's in when you first find her in the game.
Oh.
So we're basically doing like a vague adaptation of the game here.
Mm-hmm.
Dirk finds the flying horse from the game and rides it.
Yeah, there's no context in the show, but he does.
Yes. It's very clear that this is the part where like people who've played the game are supposed to go, it's the thing! It's the thing from the game!
But those of us who just watch the show are like, but he has a horse. He's on the other horse.
Yeah. Then a bunch of those eyeball tentacles come up and grab him. In the game, you fight those on the drawbridge to get across the moat into the castle.
Mm-hmm.
But here he fights them inside the castle. Well, this is where we get another narrative choice.
Yeah.
There's a bridge over the chasm, or there's a flaming rope dangling over the chasm.
The rope that's just perpetually on fire, waiting for a hero to swing across.
Yeah, which is also a thing in the game. You do swing across some flaming ropes at some point.
But it does offer us a third option. It just doesn't tell us what that third option is.
No, it does not offer us a third option. There is a third option that we were not offered.
No, and it's only in frame for about 1 second.
This was bullshit.
It is, but I still picked correctly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Not me. I didn't even know it was a thing. So
I mean, I didn't pick the poll, but I was like, third option. It's not the first two.
yeah, so the bridge is the wrong choice, but also the rope is the wrong choice, and that's all the choices we were given. And the correct option is secret option 3, pole vaulting over the chasm.
Uh-huh.
So you didn't choose right. If you didn't say pole vault over the chasm, then you didn't get it right.
Well, all they said was bridge, rope, or a third option.
Did they
I
say
selected
that?
C.
Wait, did they
I don't think those were the exact words, but they did say that there was another option.
The bridge or the rope? Or is there another way across? What would you do?
Oh, okay. Alright, I didn't hear that, I guess. I didn't consciously notice.
Well, then you suck at playing the cartoon Dragon's Lair.
I do. I died in episode 1.
Get good, loser.
I tried to swing across the rope. That was my choice.
And you fell to your death.
Because I know that you do that in the game. You swing across some burning ropes.
And it works?
Yeah. There's like 3 of them, and you
Okay.
like cross all 3 of them to the other edge.
So in this situation, knowledge of the game is a bad thing.
Yes, knowledge of the game handicapped me. So Dirk finds his way to the treasure room where he fights Singe, or he doesn't really fight Singe. Daphne tells Dirk where the key is, and I think, I didn't check, but I think it's basically the exact same line that she says in the game. Here's what she said in the show.
Get the key, Dirk! The key to my cage! It's around Singe's neck!
And here's the line from the game.
The cage is locked. with a key. The dragon keeps it around his neck.
The audience can judge if that's the same or not, because I didn't do the work.
Good job.
I was really expecting Dirk to pull the magic sword from the magic crystal, like he does in the game, and then fight Singe with it. Because they showed it already. They showed us the magic crystal with the magic sword in it.
Yeah, but you can't do that in the first episode.
No, but they set it up, and then it's not mentioned again.
That's what the rest of the season is for.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that it probably never comes up again.
Well, we're just gonna have to watch the whole thing, all 13 episodes.
Okay. Next episode, Dirk's skateboarding cousin's gonna come to town and
Alucard?
So instead of fighting Singe for the key, Dirk burrows into the money like Scrooge McDuck.
Mm-hmm.
And then Singe sticks his head in the money to look for him, and I guess Dirk snatches it while it's in there?
That's the only thing that makes sense, but it's never visually clear.
No, it's just that when Dirk pops back out of the money, he has the key now, somehow. So he gets Daphne out, and they use the snow globe to reflect the fire breath back at Singe's feet, melting the gold he's standing on for some reason, because it doesn't actually seem to hinder him very much.
No, because he's still, like, right behind them.
Yeah. He bursts through the wall and falls in the moat, forming a bridge. and they all jump on Bertram and escape as Singe drags himself out of the moat. That horse is pulling a lot of weight.
Yeah.
There's 3 people
I like when
on
they
it.
first are leaving, though. Like, Dirk picks up the princess and puts her on Bertram, and then he hops up. And then Timothy's just in front, dragging the horse.
Yeah.
Timothy doesn't get to ride. He's just a squire.
He doesn't deserve to ride. He shouldn't even be here. He's just a squire. Do you think they got to the castle and Dirk was like, Timothy, keep my horse company until I come back?
I mean, basically.
My horse has separation anxiety.
You're here for Bertram's needs.
So as they all escape, Daphne has an idea to set a trap for Singe. I was very confused by the logistics of this trap.
Because it would have taken a long time.
Yeah, how did they get all those logs? There were like 50 of them. At least.
I don't know. Singe was not that far behind them.
Yeah. So they set up like 50 logs on the ground leading up to this stone arch. So that when Singe gets there, he slips and slides on all the logs and then ends up stuck in the arch. And then that's it for him.
Yeah, they get back to the castle and the Giddy Goons try to pull Singe out of the arch.
Yeah, and the king thanks Dirk for saving Daphne and the birthday celebration continues.
Except now he doesn't have a birthday present to give the princess.
But that's okay, because earlier on in the episode, he scoffed at a guy who offered him a canary. And now he goes back to that guy and buys one.
He goes back to the local bird monger.
There's a cute canary that he bought.
I would have preferred a canary to a big gaudy gold eagle.
Something that I liked is that when Dirk gives her the canary, she just gives him a hug, and he's ecstatic just to be getting a hug from her. Not like Link, who was all about that kiss.
Right.
I thought it was quite wholesome that he was so happy to get a hug.
I do think Dirk is a better hero than Cartoon Link.
Yes, same.
He's a better person.
Yeah, much less... he doesn't need to be sent to as many consent classes.
There aren't as many talks with HR about him.
So that's the end. What
We
did you
did
think?
It wasn't exceptional, but it wasn't bad.
No, kind of on par with how I felt about the Mega Man show, actually.
Yeah.
So I was very impressed with some of the lengths that they went to with the Mega Man show for, like, there are certain things in it that they got very accurate, and then other things where they didn't, which was, I don't know, it was strange. And I feel kind of the same way about this. Because we had a lot of stuff from the game here. We had the flying horse, we had the eyeball tentacles, we We had the Giddy Goons and the Mudmen. But then in other ways, like, you have Singe, who, you know, it's not like we didn't know at this point that Singe had been conjured by an evil wizard.
Maybe they thought a dragon would test better with kids than a mysterious robed figure.
Yeah, maybe. I could see that. I do think that it is more fun to just watch a playthrough of the game, even though the game doesn't really have any dialogue or any plot. The game is like the game is so gorgeous to look at, whereas this doesn't stack up to the game in visuals, and the story isn't enough to make up for it.
Right.
So my choice, I would just go on YouTube and watch a playthrough of Dragon's Lair before I watch this show.
I don't know. I kind of want to see what other weird ideas they come up with.
Oh, we're going to watch more of this for the show, for sure.
Oh, I know that.
But would you like to know about the legacy of this show?
Bertram the horse?
Bertram the horse!
Yeah!
Yes, Bertram reappears as Dirk's horse in the 2003 Dragon's Lair comic book miniseries.
Good.
I'm happy to take that as the fact that Bertram is just canon now.
Me too.
When you said Bertram was your favorite character, I was like, well, Mel's going to be happy about the legacy this show had. Timothy has never reappeared. You'll be happy to know.
Thank God.
Yeah, obviously this portrayal of Singe didn't stick around, since in the games after this, Singe is just a non-verbal dragon.
Right.
King Ethelred, although as far as I can tell he never appears again, he was mentioned in the manual of one of the home PC versions of the game.
So he's canon.
Yeah. I mean, if you consider the PC version of the game canon.
Dragon's Lair fans chime in.
Yeah, let us know. What do you think is canon? I mean, Dragon's Lair fans might have differing opinions, because I know I was actually specifically looking up whether Timothy ever appeared in anything again. And there was one thing I found that said that Timothy is also in that comic that Bertram's in. But I found a picture of him, and it's not Timothy.
Oh.
The squire in the comic is much younger, and he's blonde. It's not Timothy.
No. Just let Timothy die.
He just has a similar haircut, but that's just because that's a squire haircut.
Right. How else are you going to know that it's a squire if they don't have the bowl cut?
Yeah, it's basically the same haircut that young Arthur had in The Sword and the Stone when he was the squire for the guy who looks like Dirk, actually. In the game, when I'm watching the Dragon's Lair game, I keep thinking that Dirk looks so much like that one guy from Sword in the Stone, the kind of like dickish knight that little Arthur is the squire for most of the movie. They look so similar. I wonder if that character was animated by Don Bluth, actually. I'm going to look that up. All right, Sir Kay is the character. No, okay, Milt Kahl animated him. Never mind. But he just reminds me so much of him. Some of the expressions are so similar. Anyway, I guess we're done.
Yeah. We powered through and we beat level 1 of Dragon's Lair.
We did.
Well, I did. You died.
Well, that's true, actually. I was going to argue, but I realized I couldn't. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll be back next time with more show.
Different show, but more of it.
If you'd like to support us in the meantime, so we can upgrade our equipment and do other cool stuff for you, please consider going to patreon.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub and kicking into our fund. Or coffee.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub. I'm not going to announce the Twitter because I don't think Twitter is real anymore.
Something strange is happening to the Twitter and we are not party to it.
But hey, if you want to try and find us on Twitter, I'll keep posting there as long as the website keeps functioning.
I give it 3 weeks.
Otherwise, you can find me at Skull Pirate Mike on most social medias except the ones I'm not on.
Then those are imposters, and you can fight them to the death if you'd like.
Yes, that's okay with me.
But that will make whoever defeats them the new Skull Pirate Mike.
No, only if they defeat me.
Well, yeah, it's like the Highlander, Everybody's in the running and there can be only one.
Right, but I'm the current one.
You better hold on to your head.
Bye. Yeah, that's him. Don't quack at me.
I couldn't help it.